Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Buchanan?
Nuño.
Buddy, I've missed you.
It's good to be back.
How was the mud wrestling
stay
championships?
back, huh?
How was the mud wrestling championships?
Oh my,
You
let
lost
me
to the
just
little
say,
guy, right?
let me just say I would have rather been involved in that than what I was involved in. That's for sure.
Well, we're happy to have you, brother. We missed you. And what a way to come back on a Monday morning, because a week ago, we're going to go.
It's a weekend of comebacks.
Well, heck yeah. But I'm going to do something you're not supposed to do. I'm going to look back before we look ahead. Typically, you like to look ahead, right? Especially on a sports show. But we had a Monday last week that sucked.
We did.
Okay? Softball had some issues last week. Baseball had some issues last week. It just wasn't a great weekend.
No.
This weekend, what did softball do?
They had a good weekend.
They had a great weekend. They beat Tennessee. And they run ruled them, okay, in the last game.
Yeah.
What did baseball do?
They won the series over LSU.
And how did they do that?
Well, in the last one, they came from behind.
Dramatic fashion, Caden Sorrell.
I guess technically both games they came from behind, did they not?
Yep.
Yeah.
Caden Sorrell's magic. So happy we got our own video of that. Just so cool to see it happen. And then for them to close it out.
Well, you're down to your last out, right?
In the eighth.
And in the eighth, you're right. And, you're thinking, if they could just get something going. And you get an excuse me in check swing. I guess what a check swing, but excuse me infield hit from Lavalette because he's fast enough to
get your run.
Outrun. And it gets your run. So and then a flare into right field from Hensler. And then there was no doubt about.
Didn't it feel like it was going to happen? Like this guy's about to go freaking yard.
Yeah, you're definitely sitting there trying to be positive. And I was at the game, and you see it come off the bat, and you're like, hey, that might go. And it keeps going, and then I lose it. I can't find the ball, so I'm watching the outfielder. I'm watching that left fielder, and I'm like, that's out of here. It was just amazing. If your name was Caden or Hayden, you had a good week.
Yeah,
a good weekend. And if you're a starting pitcher
for either team. So
LSU pitching was great.
So there's a lot made of how many times A&M struck out against LSU.
Yeah,
I think it was 30. Is that right?
Yeah, I would believe that.
And LSU struck out 28 times. So hello, and who won the series?
Your Texas A&M Aggies.
And remember when A&M went to Arkansas, the talk was about the Arkansas pitching staff. By the way, they're great. Just ask Texas.
Yeah,
the Arkansas pitching staff is great. But A&M came away. We were told about the LSU pitching staff, and they lived up to everything we talked about on the Baseball Bunch on Friday. But so did the Aggies starting pitching.
I'm not sure that that's not the most impressive series win yet. And look, I get it was at home, and the other, they're at Arkansas and at Tennessee, and the bats came out. But I'm talking about just guts and fight and tenacity. Sometimes you get on a roll,
right? And
just things start snowballing your way. And so I don't want to take anything away from those but that's kind of, they were just bashing and everything. But man, they had to fight and claw and scratch and do everything in that series against LSU, and to scratch out 3-1, and then dang near the second game pitched great, and then that last game to be down, and it doesn't look like it doesn't look good, and then to just make the plays, and then you get that lead, and Moss comes in and just shuts them down. I needed a 1-2-3 inning in the top of the ninth.
And what'd you get?
I got a 1-2-3 inning. I'd had enough drama and suspense to last for the rest of the weekend.
So I don't want to play the what if game, but this season has been filled with, if you just make a play here, it's over. If you make that play here, like the Kentucky series, how close that was. Even the Alabama series, right? So you look at the Texas series.
The Texas series, the Vandy series.
Right? So you look at these games. But what has A&M now done? They have won 4 out of their last 5 SEC series. And how many of those have been against awesome teams? 3. 3 of the wins have been against number 1 or 2. So you beat number 1 Tennessee. You beat number 2 Arkansas. You lost you beat South Carolina in between. You lost to Texas, and you beat number 2 LSU.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've done enough, provided they don't just collapse, and I don't see that. They look like they're surging, but I think all the angst about getting into the playoff, I think they're going to get in. What I think is amazing is they're in a spot, and look, it's going to take something amazing to do so.
Like if you sweep the next 2 series, do you host a regional maybe? I'm
not going to go into hosting, but what if you swept the next 2 series? You finish with a winning record.
Yeah.
Now again, I don't know if
you sweep Georgia, which by the way, that's a big that's a long ways away.
Right, and unlikely because it's on the road.
Right, and they're really good.
They're really good.
So, but if you were to do that,
but you're in a position.
I'm a talk show with maroon goggles. I say you're in the conversation to host in that situation.
And if you can sweep, if I got this right, let's see, what would it take to at least finish 500? You'd have to sweep Missouri, which hasn't won a conference game yet.
Correct.
They're 0-24. So if you could sweep Missouri,
then you're at
need
13 and 14.
You need to win the series against Georgia. Hey, why not?
Why not?
And you could finish at least 500, and that on the surface doesn't seem like so much. But when you think about the hole that they dug themselves in, if they could get just in that position to have that discussion?
Missouri's what, 0-23?
0-24.
0-24? Yeah, don't be their first win.
That's right.
Don't be their first win. Look, there's a lot of baseball to be played here in the regular season, and now I can say beyond because I'm with you. I think a while ago, after the Arkansas series, I was like, this team's going to the postseason. They're not going to collapse. They figured out their issues. But I want to go back to Caden Sorrell because he has been.
Well, since he's been on playing,
since he has been with Texas A&M,
he's their best player.
And A&M is a top 10 school in college baseball since he's been back.
Well, it'd be hard to argue that.
You lost 2 series.
Who they beat.
You lost Kentucky, you lost Texas, and you beat everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, considering who you beat, you say top. Well, are they, since with Caden Sorrell, are they a top 10 team? Well, like you said, they won a series against number 1 at the time, or were they number 2, Tennessee?
I thought Tennessee
number
was 1. Yeah.
Okay. They've fallen, but still they're a top 15 team. You won a series against number 2 Arkansas on the road. And a series against number 2 LSU.
At home.
I mean, anybody can have a good week, but when you have 3 like that, that's looking like a top 10 team.
Look.
And they don't deserve to be ranked in the top 10. We're not saying that. We're saying that since he's been playing, they have played like a top 10 team.
Before the Sorrell home run, what I was thinking to myself was, man, last 2 weekends against really good pitching, the offense has really struggled.
Yes.
And just one at-bat kind of changes the way I look at it. Look, they struck out a lot, and Bronny told us on Friday, don't be surprised if A&M strikes out a bunch this weekend. That ended up happening. But they got the hit when it mattered. They win the series, and now you're sitting at 10 and 14, okay? Can you get 3 more wins out of your next 6? Yes, you can. Will you get them? Yes, you will.
Well,
and then can you add to that?
Well, let's hope.
You've got to think sweep against Missouri, right? That's
yeah.
You can't take them for granted. They don't want to go winless. Go win that series. Go win 3 of those games. Set you up for some gravy, if you will, against Georgia.
Well, I want it. You know, I love. Obviously, we all want it. We want to see them just run the table, and that's expecting so much, and it's unlikely. But hey, it's unlikely that this team is in the position they are right now.
Yep.
After the way they started. Oh, by the way, what about Ben Rojo?
Ben Royo's great.
The way he played
Yep.
this week, and if I mispronounce his name, I'm sorry. And Caden Wilson coming in,
Caden Wilson,
and the way he pitched,
and Weston Moss,
who
had who was dealing with stuff, and it just comes out. But I want to go back to something, and it was really TexAgs as a company, but Billy and Bronny and Zane, I think, were out front when everybody had lost hope. And I had started to lose hope myself, right? How could you not, right? The way the season started. And Bronny on this show at that desk said, yeah, it doesn't look good, but let's judge the season on the totality of the season. There's still 7 more games left, right? But the totality of the regular season now, it is not what we thought on February the 18th or whatever it was when the season started. It's still not going to be that. But it's still possible for everything you thought on February the 18th. It's still possible to go to the College World Series. This team is good enough to win a regional, win a super regional, and get to Nebraska.
Yeah, they are certainly capable, no doubt. But if they continue to pitch the way they're pitching, the hitting, it's got what was so exciting is they got the key hit. Mm-hmm. Had runners on and got the key hit. Hayden Schott had one. In game 1.
That inning was
so
great.
they were getting the key hit instead of leaving so many guys on base, and that's what you're looking for. You're getting the pitching.
Yep. Well, and you talk about what ifs in series. If LSU is that the 7th inning, I think that had happened with Hayden. If LSU doesn't send that guy home, how does that game play out, right? Because they gave you a golden out with a guy on third. They sent him home. Mm-hmm. Was it the top of the 7th? And
just that little short stop.
And then I don't know what LSU was complaining about. Like, he was out by a mile.
That coach was complaining about everything.
Johnson,
I think he was just trying to I don't know, intimidate umpires, and at some point it looked like he might have.
But I do, and we'll do it in the next segment. I do want to talk about SEC officiating. It's very, viral on social media to talk about it. There were several examples this weekend, and we'll kind of talk about that. A&M was, the recipients of some very bad calls. But just in general, some thoughts about it. We'll do that on the other side. But I don't know, man. It just feels good to be here on a Monday, because on that Friday night when they got no hit by Tennessee, mm-hmm. I've said it on this show several times. It felt like a funeral. It felt like this is it.
It felt like it was over.
Right?
And this Lazarus-like rise, and now you get the feeling anything's possible.
Anything's possible, and why not? Right? There's a why not. It's fun. I don't know what's going to happen. They could lose the series to Georgia, and maybe end up a 3 seed, and maybe the season ends prematurely. This group and that coach has earned my respect for the way they have battled back and made it very interesting. And now I believe they can make noise in the postseason.
I agree with all that. I have agreed with all that. And, Mike Earley, give him credit. He's been very maligned earlier, and probably rightly so. But somehow he's kept that team together.
Yep.
And so give him credit for that, because he's kept that team together and kept them fighting. And look, you always say there's what I think is a very true sports cliche is a team takes on the personality of the coach. And, they've been fighting there right along with him.
Yep. And I'm going to say this, because I decide how I fan. You guys can't decide for me. I can't decide for you. I root for good people, and I'm rooting for Michael Earley. He's a good dude, and that matters to me.
Yeah, he's an easy guy to root for. Of course, I got to be honest. I rooted for the previous coach here when he was coaching the Aggies. I root for
I root for the Aggies, no doubt. But it feels good to have a good guy in that position. And at the end of the day, it's about results, and that's how he's going to be judged. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't hurt that the guy's a good dude too, right?
No.
And we got a lot of good dudes to talk about. By the way, typically we're hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Let's get a little camera view of that beautiful place. We broke the platform. I'm kidding. We did not break the platform. But typically we're hanging out in that area.
Yeah.
What do they do at Holistic Planning?
Oh, they all kinds of things, all kinds of cool things, which is why we call it the Cool Zone. When we're over there, they're going to help you with your investments.
Yep.
They're going to help you with your estate planning.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They'll help you with your taxes and giving advice and maybe some ways to avoid having legally to pay all, more tax than you should have to.
Yeah.
And, and then they're going to make it fun because you can invest, if you so desire, in pro sports.
You can absolutely do that. But there's only one way to do it. Only one way.
And what is that?
That's the bona fide way, the guaranteed way to do it.
To play fantasy football?
No. It's by going to investinprosports.com.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't know if the people watching or listening to this show know what they're listening to. So we should probably reset that.
Well, it's TexAgs Live.
It presented by
David Gardner.
Okay, making sure you haven't forgotten. With the studio.
With my week, it might have, I could have been forgetful, but.
We are in this awesome studio that we just built.
Yeah, the Rollo Insurance Studio.
In this particular hour, we actually bill by the minute, but it is an hour.
The Go Hour by CC Creations.
That's right. And if people want to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
I've never asked you this one.
No, you've never asked
What can they do?
Is this the Buppy's Catering Hotline?
Yeah, it is. Do you know the phone number?
No.
979-693-1150. That's the Buppy's Catering Hotline. I do this like, broadcaster. I don't even know why I'm doing it right now. Stacking the papers. Let's go around the room. Let's say hi to the people behind the glass. Is the director and our good friend, Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
You got a little crew behind you.
I do. Some summer interns here. This is Chris. He's going to take my job here pretty soon. And, Maddox over there hiding half his face. There he is. But, by the way, I went and looked. 14-8. The Aggies are 14-8 since Caden Sorrell has come back in Game 2 of the Kentucky series. So, a very, very welcome addition to the lineup. And Aggie softball, man, what a way to end the regular season. Number 2 seed going into the SEC tournament, which will start, I believe they play Thursday as the 2 seed. So we'll be looking forward to that, and I can't wait to hear from Coach Ford. And a very fun weekend. Wins all over the place. I know Kaylee will tell us even more wins. We're getting tired of winning, OB.
No, never. Can't win too much.
The greatest winners of all time, Nick? Can we hear that?
Huh?
Never mind.
I tell you what, I'm not.
Did you want an impression?
Yeah, I want a
Okay. No, I can't.
I'm really getting used to this winning when they're playing LSU. How'd that volleyball game go against LSU? I don't remember, but I'm betting A&M won it. They beat them in football.
Yeah, they beat them in everything. Billy tweeted about it.
Women's basketball, we're not going to bring up.
Well, but anywho, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kaylee Dreyer. Hello, Kaylee.
Good morning.
You like my broadcaster voice there?
Yeah, it's great.
Thanks. I can tell you right here.
We have a quick comment from Calvin on the TexAgs chat that says the Ags struck out 30 times in the first 2 games and 9 more in yesterday's game. So 39.
39. That's right. 30 in the first couple.
In White Oak, that would have told me that's an average of 13 strikeouts a game.
And in my baseball mind, that seems like way too much.
Yes.
13. But guess what? They won the series. Not that you have to guess. What else, Kaylee?
And then just a quick update on Aggie women's golf. So they're currently ranked number 19, and they shot 16 over on the back 9 and then flipped it on the front 9 to shoot 2 over and give them an 18 over 306 for the first 18 holes at the Lubbock Regional. The front 9 was the second best of any team in the field.
Wow. So what does it say? What place they're in?
They currently are in 6th after the first round.
They had LSU. Like I said, I'm just assuming they're beating LSU.
I mean, does it have the rankings? Who's there with them?
I don't have those.
Okay, we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's get one more report, Kaylee, and then we'll hit a break.
Okay, and then also track and field had won 9 events over the weekend at the Aggie Muster Meet, and Heather broke her own pole vault school record Saturday with the career best performance clearing 4.41 meters.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kaylee. Let's hit a break, OB. Comfort food while you were away in prison?
Yeah. That was one of the only things that kept me going.
Yeah.
Was knowing that eventually
you'll be able to eat.
I'll be returning to 1775 for that succulent brisket, that tasty, scrumptious jalapeno cheese sausage.
Yeah.
Those those glorious pork ribs and that amazing queso mac and cheese. Yeah.
When you go there, do you start like with the meat first, or do you go straight for the mac?
No, I start with meat. The first thing I'm going to do, and I got to admit, I got to start ordering smaller portions because I always get that sampler, and get a little bit of everything.
There's nothing wrong with getting more.
So, I'm always going to start. I typically start with one bite of brisket and then attack the pork ribs.
Yeah.
And then alternate between the brisket and sausage. And I almost kind of save that queso mac and cheese for last.
Like a dessert, right?
Almost like a dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But get that meat, man. Get that meat.
I'm a meat guy. I'm a carnivore.
You're Mr. Meat.
I'm Mr. Meat.
Yeah. It's 1775txbbq.com. That's the website. You can call them up. 979-492-6241. 1775txbbq.com.
Senor Clark.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
Obi, what's today?
Cinco de Mayo.
You big Cinco de Mayo guy? Big partier?
It's always a good excuse to go out and have some Mexican food and some, like, you need an excuse.
You just
some Mexican food, a margarita.
Heck yeah.
I typically have my one margarita a year on Cinco de Mayo.
All right. Maybe today?
We got a head start on it. We were so excited because we went to the game.
Yeah.
And we were so excited after the game. Our friend Jack Willoughby, who gives us his tickets, let us use them. I typically go watch the games with him, but he was out in Lubbock to support the women playing golf. He loves golf, so he said, "Hey, does Irma want to go to the game?" So we went, and we were so excited, we decided to go celebrate and went to a local Tex-Mex establishment.
Yeah,
and had a margarita.
There was
in celebration.
There was almost a very embarrassing moment at church yesterday.
Okay.
So we walked in a couple minutes late. I think it starts at 9. I think got there at 9:03. It was dark. Okay, going up the stairs.
Yeah.
I guess the stairs are not all even.
Yeah, and you trip.
I almost but I felt it happening in slow motion to where it's like, why can't I find my foot? Why can't I find my foot? And luckily there was a gentleman who kind of just put his hand right there so I didn't fall. I didn't feel as bad because my daughter almost fell. Three of us almost fell back to back. It would have been a disaster. I mean, people already make fun of us anyway, but that would have been over the top, falling in front of everybody at church. But
I don't think that would have been disaster. I mean, if anything else, you could maybe be a Democratic president a candidate for president. They have a tendency to fall upstairs.
See, now we're going to get messages, and then I'm going to get into a fight because I'm going to defend you.
No, you don't have to defend me.
Come on, I like it.
Hey, look, I'm just asking. Is that something that was something that happened more than once?
Hey, you know what happened more than once?
What?
A&M baseball won a couple of times. You know what else happened more than once?
What's that?
The umpires suck.
Yeah.
Holy smokeroni.
Yeah.
I just made that up. That's a weird one. Anyway, so I didn't watch the Auburn-Tennessee series, okay? But it was all over my timeline.
Yeah.
Tony Vitello was, and they screwed Tennessee. What was that, on Friday with the weather? And they decided to start the game. They started their ace, and so. But there's a couple different examples of just some bad SEC officiating. And by the way, we can show a couple of the Hensler strikeout. I don't know, and I think Bronny even had a picture of it, but that's not a strike.
Yeah, I mean when the catcher is reaching outside, and then I saw one time I think it was Terrence Hill.
Yeah, we got that. We got that video too, I believe. So that's Hensler's. That's not a strike, bro.
It's outside the chalk on the batter's box on the other side.
And there's Bronny.
I mean, how do you get this level of incompetence, and how do you tolerate it as the SEC? I can't remember who. I think it was the umpire wearing number 21. Don't know his name, but there has to be some kind of.
But there's not going to be, and this is why they don't give a flying bleep what we think. Because if you look at college sports in general, there's a lot of obvious blind spots in general. I'm talking NIL. We all saw this happening. We all I remember doing the show with you when it just came out. This is not going to work. It's working, but it's fake working. We're just going through. They don't care. We can have opinions, but there's nobody with a backbone strong enough to take care of it, and they don't care. They just want our money.
You know what I hate? I hate going to the grocery store, and you'll see where I'm going with this in a minute. And I hate that you have the more self-checkout scanning than you do actually checkers. Humans. Because I will stand in line for an extra 10 minutes to avoid taking somebody's job. And yet, when it comes to baseball officiating, I'm to the point now, it's gotten so bad where they should just come up with this computer. You can do it.
Robo-umpires.
And just get those umpires out, because so many of them are incompetent, and then so many of them have this ego where it's more about them than it is the actual game.
Yeah. Well, there's some.
Yeah.
And I know some big-time referees in college football that I have a lot of respect for. There's one that lives in this market. This is a great guy. But that's an issue. And again, they don't care, OB. How long have we been talking about SEC officiating? This didn't start yesterday. This didn't start this weekend. This has been a theme.
I used to see it had nothing to do with A&M. I would see the incompetence of SEC football officiating when I was up in the bias of when I was up in Tennessee. And like I said, you played Alabama, you were going to get bad calls.
Right.
I mean, the pivotal calls were always going to Alabama, and other teams too. But
can we show the Tennessee ones? Nick, I know we've got a couple different ones here. I don't know which ones they are, but that's not a strike.
Yeah, I mean, that's in the dirt.
And I think Tony Vitello here in this clip, and I know he gave them all a piece of his word after a piece of his mind, excuse me. And there's another video as well. But that is not at all. That's on the ground almost.
And outside.
And outside, yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, the level of incompetence is so bad that, again, maybe keep the three umpires out in the field, but you don't have to put up with it.
You don't,
or at least make somebody accountable.
Yeah.
Fire number 21 or fire that guy, and then the other umpires go, "Holy crap! I guess I better start actually paying attention."
Well, people are going to do what they can get away with. And if you can get away with coming to work for 2 or 3 hours a day, you're going to keep going to work for 2 or 3 hours a day. If you're going to get away with allowing
You making any accusations there?
Oh, no, I'm just talking in general. No. I mean, Nick usually stays 4 hours. But kidding, Nick, I know you got here at 5 a.m. But if you're going to allow that kind of umpiring, and there's going to be no repercussions, no suspension, no talk to the principal's office, then you're going to keep getting that. When you let your kid keep making the same mistake, I told you to be home by 2 a.m. Told you to be home by 2 a.m. And they get home at 5 a.m. all the time at 9 years old. What's going to happen? They're going to keep doing it when they're older.
Of course they will.
Were you one of those kids out late?
No. I was kind of unsightly in high school.
Okay.
And so I didn't have much reasons to be out late.
Unsightly.
I was an ugly kid.
I saw a picture of you recently when you were, 19, 20 years old. You had big hair. You looked like
long,
a pimp.
Long hair.
You look like...
I was pimping.
Pimping ain't easy, brother. We'll hit a break here. I was going to say, speaking of pimping, let's talk about water. Not just any water. The water here in Robertson County, it's not just the water that comes out of the tap. It's the lifeblood of everything we love about home. Out-of-state interests, though, are eyeing our most precious thing that we love, and that's our water here in our community. That's why I want you to consider supporting Keep Water Local, a group of neighbors fighting to protect what matters most. If you care about this community, it isn't just about the water that you drink. It's about preserving the farms, the businesses, and the Aggie spirit that makes this place so special. So if you're losing control of the water, that means you're losing control of your future. Want to make a difference? Head to keepwaterlocal.org and get involved. Let's keep water right here where it belongs in the Brazos and Robertson County. It's Keep Water Local. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It's the Go Hour, and we appreciate CC Creations and all their gang. All right, OB, I want to get into some football this segment, but there was a couple of super chats that came in on TexAgs.com, and one from TexAg 1987. Working a job for years sometimes requires retraining.
Okay.
Like, for instance, this job here that we do, if we don't kind of evolve with the changing technologies, the changing demands, we become dinosaurs in this industry, right? And that happens actually quite often.
Yeah,
right?
it does.
I don't know why that hasn't happened to umpiring, right? But like a doctor, the stuff you learned in 1985 was great, right? But I think there's been some advancements, hopefully, in the last 40 years. Hopefully, there's been some advancements, right? So if you're not getting retrained and not like seeking knowledge, you're probably not going to be qualified to do your gig anymore.
Yeah, the only thing, and I know he's talking about the baseball umpiring, and none of those things have changed. I mean, the strike zone still should be.
That's true. But I'm wondering, like, how does, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not meaning this to be funny, or it's not even funny. Like, how do you see that? Like, is it your vision? Is it your lack of detail? What causes?
I think Greg Sankey should hire IDOC Mike.
Oh, that guy's good.
And all SEC officials, especially umpires, should be required to be
like an aviator pilot, right? Like just like
be required.
Like Maverick from Top Gun. That guy could see.
You would be required to have your vision tested.
Yeah.
By IDOC Mike. If you don't get the IDOC Mike
stamp of approval,
because the only thing I can, either that guy that one we were showing that Bronny pointed out, you either can't see, you don't know what a strike zone is, but there's a certain level of incompetency there that has to be addressed.
Yeah, it's gross.
Or you're cheating for the other team, and I don't think that's the case. But still,
I don't think that's.
I think it's just talk about a guy who was incompetent.
Yeah. So it's that time of year, OB, with lists. Okay.
Yeah.
So last week, I think we did Marcel Reed. 2 different lists had him as a number 6 and 7 quarterback in the SEC, which I thought was, I don't know who's necessarily significant.
Somebody was paying attention that did that list.
Yeah, those, and I think Connor O'Gara had one of those. He now has the top 6. Well, he ranks the 16 coaches in the SEC.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll ask you why, Olin Buchanan. Where do you think Mike Elko is on the list?
Well, again, I don't know what his criteria is.
Mm-hmm.
But I would think Mike Elko is 8.
So I'm going to disagree with
somewhere in the middle.
I agree with you. I disagree with where he has him on this list.
Okay.
Because of somebody who's directly in front of him.
Okay.
And I need to get Connor on the show this week because he's done a lot of these in the last couple weeks. So we'll chat with him. He has Coach Elko at number 10.
Okay.
Okay. But here's my issue with that. He has Mark Stoops at number 9.
Well, he's been in the league longer, and he has had a couple of 10-win seasons, but that was a
like
while
4 years ago.
And if either one of those 2 guys were fired last year or this coming year, it'd be Stoops and not Elko.
Right. I'm going to give you quickly the list, and then when I get to Elko, I'll tell you a little bit of what he says about Elko. Okay. Number 16 on the list, Jeff Lebby.
Okay.
TBD. Hugh Freeze, 15. That was surprising to me.
Yeah, I would think he would be higher than that, but all right.
Brent Venables, 14.
I could see. I know he had one good year, but I could see that. Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with this. And number 13, Sam Pittman.
He had the one good year,
really good year,
when every transfer they brought in hit,
panned out. Yep.
Yeah.
So Pittman at Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, number 12.
He got Vanderbilt to beat Alabama.
Yeah.
He got Vanderbilt to beat Alabama.
Number 11, Billy Napier. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, especially, I'm not so sure I'd put him ahead of Clark Lee, though. I don't know if they played last year, but okay. I mean, they did an amazing job at the end of the year. Looked like he was on his way out.
Yeah.
And he brought him back.
Coach Elko, the thing I liked most, he says, is in year one, Elko had all in or nothing regular season finale against Texas that could have gotten A&M into the first conference championship game of the 21st century. But had you told me as an Aggie fan that the first year post-Jimbo era would have included that and being undefeated in the SEC initially, I would have said that Elko was right on track.
Yeah, again, it all comes back to that loss to Auburn.
Yeah.
If you beat Auburn, so many things are looked at differently.
But I'm gonna add to that. You beat Auburn, which I think you should have, right? We all agree that they should have, and you beat USC. Because USC, you had it with a minute left, right?
It's
true. If you just couple of stops, don't go to overtime, just get a couple of stops. We're talking about now a team where you would have played somebody differently in the bowl game. I recognize that. But you're talking about a team that would have had 10 wins.
But if you beat Auburn, well, they wouldn't have had 10 wins if they beat USC.
They beat Auburn
and USC. Okay.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have played USC if you beat Auburn.
Right.
So
win the bowl game. Beat Auburn, win a bowl game.
Right. Shane Beamer, number 8.
Well, he did beat Elko.
I like him. He had a bounce, but we'll see how he does this year.
I tell you what, I truly believe that Elko is the superior coach to Beamer. But right now they got scoreboard, so you can't complain.
Drink, number 7. A couple 10-win seasons, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. I saw him get the living daylights beat out by Elko, and then he comes up and says, well, we didn't know that they were going to play this
But they did. They had the easiest schedule in the SEC.
And they had that. So.
They had the easiest, but 2 years in a row of 10 wins.
Okay.
It's been a minute since we've seen 10 wins.
Yeah.
More than a minute. So 7, Drink. Number 6, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I can't argue.
I think I would have had him higher.
Probably.
I mean, that guy just wins 10 games.
I got to hear the other 5, and I mean,
Josh Heupel, number 5.
Okay.
This is where I disagree.
I'm not. I'd probably take Kiffin over Heupel.
Brian Kelly, number 4. I put Lane Kiffin ahead of him right now. I'm sorry, I do.
They got scoreboard.
Yeah.
And LSU beat them last year because of some bad coaching decisions. If Lane Kiffin would take the field goals when it's the smart thing to do, he'd win a couple more games. Okay. Well, I don't vehemently disagree.
I just look at what LSU has done since he's been there, and I know that first year, if you look at what they did, getting to the SEC championship game sounds fantastic. But he has gone 10-4, 9-3.
The knock on Lane Kiffin is he'll put together a good offense and a good team, and it's the in-game decisions.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin is the quarterback. Lane Kiffin is the Garrett Nussmeier of SEC coaches. It's not. He's good. But what's going to lose points is those crazy turnovers that you're like, what decision were you making there, young man?
Number 3, Kalen DeBoer.
See,
that's based on what he did.
Yeah, at Washington.
Right.
Look, I wouldn't put. Look, I know they still had a solid year, but to put him number 3 after he lost to Vanderbilt. At Alabama.
Yeah. Alabama lost to Vanderbilt.
I think that's putting him too high.
Sark at number 2.
Can't.
2 straight playoff appearances.
You can't argue.
With a Big 12 schedule, that's fine. Kirby Smart, number 1.
Okay, that's who I'd put 1.
Yeah, that's who I'd put number 1 too. And I'd probably put Sark at 2.
I would.
I would. I don't know if I would have a couple years ago, but I mean, the most recent 2-year stretch, fantastic for Texas.
He came in to the SEC and got to the SEC championship.
Yeah.
Now, he was helped by a advantageous schedule.
You're not allowed to say that, apparently.
He was. A&M had a somewhat advantageous schedule, and
they couldn't take advantage.
Didn't take advantage of it.
Yep.
But so he took advantage of it. I have no issue with them saying Sark is number 2, and but I gotta say DeBoer at number 3.
I got a problem with that.
Yeah, I think he has more to prove.
I think I'd probably I think I'd put Lane at number 3. And I understand the scoreboard with BK and all. I think Lane has done an incredible job at Ole Miss.
He has, but you got to make more rational in-game decisions.
Who would you rather have as your coach? Not talking about personality. We got to hit a break here. But would you rather have Brian Kelly or Lane Kiffin as your coach? Not talking personality.
I think I'm not sure what I think about Kelly's personality. I think I'd take Lane.
I'm taking Lane. I think I may regret it later.
Because
it's like dating that girl that's super hot but psycho. That's what it is.
Because you might be able to get Lane to understand that, sometimes just kick the field goal.
What I'm saying is Lane is Bill Belichick's girlfriend. That's what I'm saying. We're going to hit a break here. Milliken Reserve time. Farm to table. Can I get in trouble for saying that?
Were they in prison together or what?
Farm to table community and College Station. No prisons at Milliken Reserve. No. That is just the place to be free. Free at last, OB. When you go there, you can go hiking, you can go biking, you can go fishing, kayaking, you name it. All the great activities that you want to do, you can do that at Milliken Reserve. 2,600 acres of open space, farms and trails, and they've got beautiful homes there as well. They want to connect families to nature and to each other. When you go to Milliken Reserve, you're just going to have a great old time seeing all the animals you can imagine, from the white-tailed deer to the songbirds, the rabbits, the turtles. They have it all there when you go, and your family is going to love coming together and connecting outdoors. The website is millikenreserve.com. That website again, millikenreserve.com. Do me a favor, check it out. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. Ever gone fishing in the dark, Obi?
I've fished at night before. Yeah. Right there on Lake of the Pines.
Where's that?
It's right up around Ore City.
Okay.
Or it's big lake, so I mean Ore City, Harlton, all over. I mean up there in East Texas. Hence the name Lake O' the Pines.
Lake O' the Pines. Okay. Trey and Brian, Stoops did have the A&M job before Elko, and there was a revolt.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the right call, I think.
I think so. I always thought that, look, if you were going to go after Kalen DeBoer, which I understand they made some phone calls, I get that. His team had been in the championship game, so that makes sense. If you couldn't get him, I thought, even before DeBoer, but I understood DeBoer, to me, Mike Elko was the obvious choice.
Yeah. He was the feel-good choice, too.
He had done well here. He had gone up to Duke and won at Duke. Let me say that again. He won at Duke.
Where?
At Duke.
Where's that?
It's at college football. It's at the edge of hell.
Yeah.
That's why they're called the Blue Devils, I guess.
Yeah, this is a big year because I don't know if most of the country believes they're going to be really good. Okay. And by really good, what do we consider really good?
Well, I think to be really good, you got to have 10 wins.
10 regular season wins, right? I think most people are predicting or expecting a very similar year to what they had last year.
Yeah. And some may even say it's going to be worse. And hey, I want to point out something that because it got on Twitter from the Texas folks that I was saying that Olin Buchanan saying they're going to win 10 games or 9 games, all this. You asked me if Texas A&M had a quarterback that was the 6th best quarterback and the defense was the 6th best defense. I said, yeah, if you give me both of those things, then I'm going to tell you that's a 9 or 10 win team.
Look, I don't know if I'm not predicting 10 wins right now, but if you look at A&M's schedule and said, all right, your only losses are to LSU and Texas, would people believe it? Look at that schedule. Yeah, they can beat Missouri. They can beat Florida. They can beat South Carolina. They can beat Notre Dame. All that is possible.
Yeah, it's all possible. We got to play better than you did last year.
By the way, it's possible to win those other ones as well. All right, Obi, thank you, sir.
Yep.
When we come back, Early with Michael Earley and Ryan Browninger next on TexAgs.
Truly, am I on?
Doesn't sound like it.
Is my mic on? There we go. Truly one of the more awful songs in human history.
Living on a Prayer?
Terrible. John Bon Jovi stinks. That song stinks. Anybody that likes that song stinks. It's awful.
Huh. I don't know if that's how I wanted to start off my interview with Michael Earley this morning, but I don't know if I disagree or agree. I'm kind of perplexed by the timing of it. Welcome into TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Ryan Browninger, David Nuño. Now time for our weekly conversations with Michael Earley, brought to you by Duck Camp. Duck Camp, known for the best moments happening out there on the boat, casting a line, or hauling in the catch of the day. Be sure to check out the Duck Camp new spring hats like the fan favorite crawfish hat and the redfish hat at duckcamp.com. And we go to the Puppies Catering Hotline. We're joined by Michael Earley. Where do you stand on John Bon Jovi?
It's better than last Monday when Rockstar was playing and it said bottom of the ninth, you're never going to win. That was kind of a tough way to start the show. So I enjoyed this song today.
Wow, I didn't know we played that song. So
man,
Brian Broadcasting. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Coach, let's just talk about the vibes this weekend. Obviously, Caden Sorrell, the heroics, the pitching performance, the whole thing. Just kind of wrap it up into an opening statement of how the weekend went.
Yeah, I thought we grinded and we were just tough, man. Tough. Like it was a gritty 3 games. If you understand our ballpark like a lot of people do, like a north wind and a south wind can drastically change the game. And it wasn't like a north like early on in the year, but Saturday was tough, and it was really came down to you got to really pitch it, you got to play defense, and you got to get the hit. And it's usually like the hit, or you put some balls in play and they find holes, and we did that 2 out of the 3 games. And that's really what it came down to, because both teams pitched outstanding. Our guys were awesome. Their guys were a lot to handle, man. Like they were really, really good. And we matched them. And in the end, we made the play. And yeah, just a credit to our guys for how resilient they are.
When you're going into a doubleheader against Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson, like you did on Saturday with that north wind, like when you go in and you never want to completely change what you do offensively, but in the back of your mind, are you going like, we may have to do some things that we're not accustomed to doing to score some runs against these guys?
Yeah, I mean, as a message to our team is like we early on in the year when we had wins like that, we weren't you're not trying to fly out, right? You're not trying, but the message was, it's like, don't go out there against these guys trying to do too much, because you can't. Like, not only the just conditions are not going to allow it, especially in the first game. It's like, and we really want to drive Anderson's pitch count up because he's well over 100 the weekend before, and we did such a good job of laying off those just really tight balls and like drove his pitch count up, wanted to get into the bullpen. And I thought the guys did a really good job. And then Ianson on the flip side, it's pretty tough to drive his pitch count up because he was just filling it up and throwing some. He's one of the best. Both those guys are 2 of the best I've ever seen. But Ianson on that day, that was really, really tough. But you know what? Our pitchers kept us in the game. Royo popped a homer, and we still had a chance. So those 2 arms were really tough to deal with, especially with the conditions. And our guys had to grind, and they got it done when they needed to get it done.
I think the word grind obviously talks about your whole ball club, but when you look back, and I was going through the numbers this morning on the pitching side of things, Jason Kelly probably doesn't get the credit he deserves at this point in the season. So you guys have the fewest walks allowed in the SEC, metrically a top 4 or 5 pitching club on the year. Just talk about, and the swing and miss stuff, when you lose Eichenbeck, when you lose Cortez, it's taken a tick down, but like their ability to just keep throwing it over the plate has really been a key factor for y'all.
Yeah, I mean, JK, you come in and you take over a pitching staff that had a lot of success, and to be able to keep it, in that same area is really, really impressive. And he's done a phenomenal job. And along with Jace Hutchins, who has been great addition to the staff. Just the things he can do are really good, and Jack Mahala. So the whole team of those guys led by JK is doing exactly what I thought they would do. And just really, they continually work, and Yeah, I mean it's awesome. Our pitching is usually when you have a year like you had pitching the year before and you lose just two phenomenal relievers, to be able to step right back in and be in a similar spot is just really, really impressive, and it's a big luxury for our ball club.
And then we're going to make you kind of speak on the guts shown by Weston Moss and really Caden Wilson. Caden rode some ups and downs early in the year. It feels like he's really come on. And then what Weston has been dealing with over the last few weeks for him to get the ball and retire 9 out of 10 to really give you a chance to win the game and then nail it down in the ninth. I mean, just incredible guts by both of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Caden's really grown up a lot this year and throughout the year, and that's in all aspects, and I think it's starting to show in his play, and that's okay. Like that's part of our job too as coaches is to, every personality is different, everyone's different, and Caden's just been an awesome just from the day he's got here till now, especially in the last few months, and it's translating to the field. And he wasn't doing anything wrong or along those lines, but it's just that maturation process of a human into a baseball player, and what he's been able to do has been great. And he's just he's confident right now, and he's got really good stuff. Like it's the real deal. And then Weston, same thing. He's more healthy than he was last weekend. He's still not 100%. He did a great job again, pitching back-to-back days, and he was, in the ninth, he was going to get the leadoff guy out, and then we wanted to bring in Caden Wilson to face Milan. Well, after he threw to that first batter, I said at my postgame, I don't know if he came in and got a breath of fresh air, got some water, but I was like, I'm not taking this guy out. And, he just did a phenomenal job, and he is not 100%, so we got to continue to have another good week with him and get his weight back up. He needs to put on probably about 10 more pounds to get back to where he was at, but sometimes you're a good pitcher and sometimes you have guts, and I think when you have both, you can be really, really good.
Coach Earley, when things were going so rough, I know you said you had to look at each game and each series one at a time, but was it hard not to look ahead and see, like, we got one coming up, we got two coming up, we got one coming up, we got two coming up, and like that grind that you're still in, you still got a couple of SEC series and the tourney after. Was it hard to not every once in a while peek at what was ahead?
No, it really wasn't. It really wasn't. And I think I knew what was ahead, and we needed where we were at in the hole we put ourselves in. The only thing that was going to get us out is playing against really, really good competition and winning. Like if the schedule wasn't the schedule it was, we want to have a chance to, try to put ourselves back in the right direction. So I'd say maybe a little bit. I was just aware of it, but I really, truly am just a day-by-day type of person, and it just takes the stress out of it, to be honest with you, if you think more like that.
Ryan Prager, another really good outing, and the velo, he's holding it now deep into the start, fired some 90s late in the start on the in-stadium gun. Just what was it getting him back? Like, was it mechanical stuff? Did y'all pour through video? Or he and the pitching staff, coaching staff pour through the video? Like, how did he get back to, that was vintage Ryan Prager in game one.
Yeah, it's a constant fight to find where you're at, and it's just, and you know how it is. It's not going to happen all in 1 week, and it really started before Arkansas. Like all those guys felt really good about where he was at, and they're like, no, we think he's close, or he's there, and I thought he was, minus a couple pitches, and then it's just gotten better ever since. So he's been making some adjustments, not only mechanically, but doing some other things with where he stands on the rubber, and they've just continued to work. It's been every single week, you're pushing to get that guy back to where he needs to be, and it looks like he's in a really, really good spot.
And then take me through the decision yesterday with Hernandez coming up and Patton on the mound. I know you wanted to keep Monster Milam hitting on the right-handed side, and you kind of just spoke about wanting to bring in a lefty late to face him, but you stuck with Moss. So just the decision with Patton and Hernandez, who had been seeing him pretty well. How much conversation went between you and JK to ultimately stick with your guns and go with Patton?
Yeah, I know he'd hit the double off him, but I'm not. We needed some length just with we know what we know, right? With Wilson doing the back-to-back at Texas, and then him throwing the day before. He threw, how many pitches did he throw? Like 30 some, or I can't remember at the time. And then with Moss being a little under the weather, we really needed to try to get some length. And that's why the decision was made, because I was afraid, if we bring those guys in too early, I'm not sure what we had in the back end of the game. And it's also, too, like, I'll take Miles Patton against anyone any day. And that's how I feel about all those starting pitchers. So the big part of it was kind of the health of those guys. And, if you don't know, right, if you're not internal, you don't know. Like, Moss is sick. Wilson threw more pitches back-to-back than he has, and he just threw yesterday. So really just wanted to try to get through that part of the game, just to shorten the game and not be left with the unknown at the end.
Oh, and then we've kind of gotten away from the outing of Caden McCoy and continues to trend in the right direction. Like, what, in your mind, like, what is his ceiling here at Texas A&M? Do you always envision him as maybe like this, the new Aschenbeck type of role where you can hand him the ball at any time and it can get you big outs, or do you think he kind of projects maybe into the rotation in the future?
Yeah, if I knew that, I would say yes. But I think he's got a chance. You want left-handed starting pitching, left-handed pitching, period. So I think for sure. I mean, you can see that guy either as depends on how he bounces. The thing about Osh that made him so unique was his ability to bounce back. Right, like that's what made him who he was. Not only did he get guys out, but he could keep pitching. You might have the same guy in the same body who can do it on Friday, but just can't do it on Saturday. So I'm not. That's all unique to the individual, but Caden McCoy is just so impressive and just so happy with how he's progressed, and he's been awesome since the first day he's been here. So I could definitely see him in the future as a weekend type of starter.
Well, you start Gavin Cash yesterday, and a kind of unsung hero, 2 doubles, gets him off the mat and gets him going. So kind of, what is your thoughts on that first base position? Is it going to be matchups going forward?
Yeah, it's going to be matchups, and it's going to be defense. It's going to be defense. So we cannot, that's why he went there before, and it's going to be a little bit of both and seeing who we're playing. But Gavin Cash, I just feel like with Bendy, like we got 2 guys that I think have the ability, they can change the game with their bat, but I need him to play really good defense. So yeah, it'll be matchups moving forward, depending. And it doesn't mean Cash versus left, Bendy versus right. Just looking at the splits and looking at the matchup and seeing which guy gives us a better chance. Weighing defense and offense and just kind of seeing where it's at.
Coach Earley, the headlines obviously was the Sorrell home run, the pitching, but if Jace doesn't get that hit in the 8th, just talk about how important it was for him to get out of that slump, get something going, and starting that rally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad the ball bounced our way in that, so we got to, it was luck, but you don't have a chance unless you put the ball in play and you bust your tail down the line like he did. And it's a big play in the game. And he's just pressing a little bit and not swinging at the right pitches and missing the few pitches he gets to hit, which when he's good, he gets a few pitches to hit and he hits them and he takes all the other ones. So, yeah, I mean, something like that can get a guy going, get you back on base. And sometimes you just need a little knock, but he's got some adjustments we need to make, and we'll correct, get him going here over the next couple days.
Coach Earley, we appreciate your time, sir. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
See you.
Bye.
Kick 'em. That is Michael Earley here on TexAgs Live. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with more Bronny, talk some baseball thoughts from him. Right now, we're talking Bird Dog. I'm going to be going on a fishing event coming up here soon. They do bird dog fishing, but they do a lot of other stuff. You know about the hunting side of things, right? They are incredible when it comes to setting up your hunt. They're an Airbnb for the hunting community that works for both the ranchers, the landowners, and also the hunters. So you will have a group of buddies that want to go for an awesome hunt. Let Bird Dog take care of that for you. They'll set up all the logistics for you. But on the range management side, they're going to help you find money on your land, right? They can get hunters on your land. They can find those tax benefits you haven't thought of on your land as well. That's what they've been doing for a long time. And some of their ranch owners are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land just by reaching out to Bird Dog. The website, birddogit.com. You need to check it out for all of your tax optimization needs on your ranch and all for your hunting needs as well. birddogit.com. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. Bronny, people not happy with your Bon Jovi commentary.
Who cares? That song stinks.
It's catchy.
No, it's not.
You didn't sing it in 1989 whenever it came out?
No, I've every time I hear it, I get a disgruntled look on my face.
What do you have against prayer?
Nothing against prayer.
Oh, okay.
I pray every day.
Okay.
I don't like that era of music, hair bands.
Yeah.
And I specifically am not a fan of John Bon Jovi. That song and the other one that he came out with in the early 2000s, I think it was called It's My Life, where he pulled a cheat.
It's my life. That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hate it.
Yeah.
The worst. It's the worst.
What about Dead or Alive? Young Guns. That song was
Dead
jamming.
or Alive, I'll give a little bit of grace to because it was Oschenbeck's pitching song. So, but no, I don't know. And Bon Jovi just gives me kind of the heebie-jeebies.
He gives me the heebie-jeebies. That hair has never looked good.
No.
Even the short version of it. Like, no matter what he does, not good hair.
You can like John Bon Jovi and you can like that song. I'm just telling you that it stinks.
Blaze of Glory, that song.
Stinks.
That song's fantastic.
No.
Don't you think about Billy the Kid when you hear that song?
No, I don't think about.
I do.
I probably think more about Billy the Lucci.
I think about Lou Diamond Phillips and
because
and
he loves
Emilio
80s. He loves 80s music. I think the 80s is the worst era of music of all time. My personal opinion.
And you've been around for how many of the decades?
Well, I started in the 80s.
Yeah. I don't know if you're qualified to speak on the 80s then.
But I can tell you that I grew up listening to stuff from the 60s and 70s with my dad.
Yeah.
So those eras are definitely better than the 80s. The 90s blow it out of the water. The 2000s are pretty good, still ahead of the 80s.
Are we talking about rap here? Or
I'm talking about everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Should we get back on baseball?
We can do whatever you want to. You're the one that started this conversation.
Well, you actually started the conversation before Michael Earley, and then I just had to come back to it because the timing. The timing's really what got me. But now I have a little clock in my head that goes, we got to move on.
Is your clock Nick Savage?
No, Nick just does. He's great. He doesn't cause.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I go to the ballpark early yesterday, watching both teams take batting practice, and Nick will get a big kick out of this story. And I almost texted him when I saw it. There were 3 energy drinks on top of the A&M dugout when they went out to take BP, like sitting on the rail of the A&M dugout. Nick, what were they? They were white monsters. And that's what Nick loves.
No wonder they won. Are you kidding me?
Nick kind of blamed.
What is a white monster? I actually don't know.
Monster energy drink?
Yeah, I know Monster, but
they're in a white can.
Oh.
And there's 0 sugar.
There's so much chemicals in that. There's so much death happening in that.
Okay,
drink.
can you just...
A latte of death.
Okay.
Death.
Okay. Bon Jovi.
I know what you meant there. I know exactly what you meant.
But what I'm saying
there's a community
is
that knows.
Nick laid a little bit of blame at mine and Richard's feet on our road trip to Austin because we both got white monsters, but they weren't the big gulps, and he wanted us to get the big gulps to help ensure a win, and we didn't.
You know, I'm not going to do this on the show, but one day I'm going to do a little reading to you guys. I'm going to read you the ingredients of that, unless they want to sponsor. And we're going to find out if this is what
I knew you had a price tag.
I do.
I mean, the NASCAR of the first hour tells everybody that you've got a price tag.
By the way, it's always been that way.
Whatever you say.
All right. Let's
Radio
talk
show
baseball,
boss.
shall we? Where do we start with this? Because, like, to me, this is where I want to start with it. Every time it feels like people are starting to give up on them, this team has this kind of act, right? And I didn't fully give up on them, but that Tennessee first game, I was like, there's no way they make the tournament. That's what I thought after the no-hitter, right? And now all they've done is just completely flip the script.
9-5 in these series. Excuse me, since that game. 9-5 since the no-hit run rule against Tennessee, and 4 of those 5 losses are by 1 run. And so, and it's against elite competition.
Yeah.
You talk about 4 of the 5 series are against teams ranked in the top 2. And the one series that you didn't have a team ranked that highly, you swept at home. And look, they deserve, the coaching staff, the kids, the training staff, everybody deserves such a tremendous amount of credit for just continuing to row the boat. And you have stormy seas, high waves, high wind, and it looks like it's about to topple over, and they just keep rowing.
Yeah.
And Richard and I last night were actually looking at, like, give me your top 5 moments of the season so far. And they've all just about happened since that no-hitter against Tennessee.
Are there any before?
I would make the argument that Jace breaking the record
I can give you that.
would have been not number 1, but probably in my top 5.
Yeah.
But you just kind of go through it, and you look at the TK catch in Tennessee, the Luke Jackson outing in Arkansas.
Yep.
Sorrell, obviously the Kent homer against South Carolina. Sorrell's homer against South Carolina. Sorrell's homer the other day. Weston Moss's performance yesterday. Like, all of these moments have all happened in the last 5 weeks. And so this is a different ball club than what we saw for the first month and a half of the season, no question. The problem is they dug themselves such a hole that when they started building their ladder to climb out of it, they paused last week. You could start to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
And you paused last week, maybe even went down a rung. And so now this weekend, you flipped it and you made, some positive steps to get out of it, but you're not out of it yet.
You're not, but like what they have done, it feels like they're out of it.
It feels like it, but because of, you think about the season and like keep the sweep at Texas, keep that there. Just what if they were able to get 1 from Alabama and 1 from Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
This whole thing looks different. Now you're 12-12 going into your final 2 series and going, man, if they can sweep Mizzou at home and they can go win the series at Georgia, they can host.
Yeah.
That's where we would be.
So hosting, you think, is completely out of?
No, they've got to go 6-0.
Okay, so it's possible.
So that's 16-14, and typically the line to host in this league is 17 wins. So you'd have to go 6-0 over these final 2 conference weekends, and then make a huge run in the SEC tournament, which is now single elimination.
So what you're saying is there's a chance.
It's a small. I would say that there's as much of a chance of them not making the tournament as there is for them hosting.
Okay. But
actually, there may be a greater % chance that they don't get into the tournament because hosting is so far, I think, out of the picture.
But after that Friday night Tennessee game, okay, you would have never predicted what they've been able to do now, right?
No.
I don't think you had given up on them, but you would, like, this stretch against 1-2 has been phenomenal.
Well, and another thing too is if you go on the road to a regional, I think the ballpark they're going to go to is pretty important because we saw it this weekend, and people don't want to hear it, but Mike Earley alluded to it. That ballpark over there, with a north wind, it plays totally different. You might as well add 70, 80 feet to every dimension on the fence. And how many balls did we see in that doubleheader, especially game one, that were crushed and they stayed in the ballpark? Both of those teams, Texas A&M and LSU, they have recruited to and have a roster full of guys that hit the ball hard in the air.
Yeah.
And you look ahead to this weekend with Mizzou coming in, 0-24 Mizzou. Guess what the wind's doing? It's blowing in all 3 days. So you better get ready for a dogfight and figure out a way to score some runs against Mizzou, or all those games are going to be tight. By the way, 2 of their 3 games against Georgia, very, very close.
1-run game, one of them, right?
2-run.
2-run.
But Mizzou had a lead, I think, in the 8th inning. So the odds of them going 0-30 are very low. You just don't want one of those to be against you. But they're going to have to play in a north wind this weekend again. So if they go on the road to a regional and they go to a place where it is a smaller ballpark where the ball flies, like West Virginia, when they went out to Stanford, the ball really flies at Stanford. Like, they get into one of those ballparks and they're going to be a problem for somebody in a regional. Now, I don't care what the batting average says. I don't care, what the run production is. They're not going to see arms like they've seen over the last 5 weeks in any regional. Now, in a super regional, yeah, they will. But in a regional, they won't. So if this team can get some confidence, especially if you get Jace going and you get Bear going again. I loved Bear's last at bat after the Sorrell homer yesterday. He hit a rocket to right field, and it just got hung up and got caught. But if you can get them in a ballpark that's going to play to their strengths and they get confident again, not only do I think they can win a regional, I think they can blow the doors off of somebody in a regional.
Yep.
If they're going to pitch this way, I think the offense will come around. And I was talking to a couple of pro scouts, and I think I even said it last week on the baseball bunch on Friday. I've always thought Georgia, even though they're so good in their own ballpark, Georgia was a better matchup for this A&M team than LSU. That's what I thought. Because Georgia, they've got big arms, but they ain't got Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson.
Yeah. Let me ask you one last thing before we hit a break. When we look at the greatest players that played at A&M, Jason's obviously mentioned in that conversation, maybe the greatest. We feel very similar if we get a couple years of Gavin to be in that conversation. Caden Sorrell going to be in that conversation?
For sure. Look, people, I've figured this out over the course of this baseball season, and really, you start figuring it out the longer that you work in this industry, and you're you see stuff on social media, and it's not just the A&M fan base. I'm telling you, I'm not singling out the A&M fan base. I saw a lot from the LSU fan base over the weekend, and especially this morning, having similar reactions where there's no nuanced discussion about anything. They are upset that their team lost, and so any kind of rational discussion about that has to be superseded with those are excuses. We lost. We lost because we're poorly coached. We lost because our team stinks. We lost because and it's really not. Like, you got to go look at the nuance of everything that's happening.
Yep.
So whenever we're talking about the injuries to Grahovic and Sorrell through the first month and a half of the season, now I think people will look back at that and go, oh.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Caden Sorrell really is the best player on this team, or could be. He really is one of the best outfielders and hitters in the Southeastern Conference. We know that Gavin Grahovic is that when he's healthy. So, yeah, when you lose those two guys for that amount of games, and by the way, your most trusted bullpen arm on the back end, now A&M's, it's taken them almost 47 games or something like that to kind of figure out and settle in what the back end's going to look like. It's taken them that long, and you had a trusted, surefire guy on the back end in Josh Stewart that pitched a third of an inning this season.
Yep.
These were massive injuries. They did not play well during those times. They didn't have people step up to fill those roles. But you're asking anybody to fill the shoes of Gavin Grahovic and Caden Sorrell and Josh Stewart, that's a big ask. And it's taken them some time to kind of work through it, especially on the back end of the bullpen. But yeah, you're seeing what they've been missing with Caden Sorrell. That's 10 homers in how many games? He's played 19 or 20 games. Yeah. So, I mean, if he's playing the whole season, he's probably leading the country in homers.
Ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, in a good way. Ridiculous in a good way. Thank you, Bronny.
Yep.
All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films. Heritage Films is about preserving family stories that otherwise would be lost forever. You got a dad that you want to showcase his story and keep it for the family. Let Chance and his crew at Heritage Films do a documentary on him. It could be your dad, your uncle, your nephew, whoever it may be. Chance isn't just making documentaries. He's capturing dad's journey, your grandfather's struggles, the entire family legacy, and also your family ranch. These are HBO-style, Netflix-quality documentaries, 2 hours that I've done for my family. It's fantastic, and many, many other Aggies have done that as well. You won't regret it. Call them up at 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341, or check out yourheritagefilm.com. That's yourheritagefilm.com. It's not just a service. It's a time machine for your family's most precious memories. It's Heritage Films. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Tom Hart, SEC Network, and ESPN joining us. Tom, really good weekend for Aggie sports, buddy. What's going on?
Yeah, and I tell you what, I was impressed with a lot of it. Obviously, Caden Sorrell delivering the heroics, but what set that up? And I was on another show recently. We're talking about the strength of college baseball, and I said, look at the attendance for that doubleheader at A&M. I mean, that was unbelievable. 15,000 in the ballpark one day. That's awesome. So, and it's great to see them winning some close games. You know what I mean? Like just being that close, and the one-run record still got to be sub 500 right now. I don't have it in front of me, but I thought that was really impressive because I think LSU is a very, very talented team. And so to hold down some of their big hitters for the entire weekend and to pull that off late yesterday is awfully impressive.
Look, I know this happens from time to time. It's happened in the SEC over the last couple of years. A team looks like they're lost and it has no chance, and then they make this amazing run. Ole Miss wins the national championship that way. Like these things happen. But I've brought it up like 3 times today, so my audience may be sick of it. But like I still go back to the Tennessee Friday night no-hitter run rule loss and how it felt like it was over. Like it felt like, and what this team has done, and then I asked Coach earlier on the program, like, how did you not look ahead? And, he's like, we just couldn't, right? Like, and he even said they had to beat those teams for it to be really like, not worth something, but I forgot how he phrased it. But basically, he had to beat those teams for it to be real. Because if you beat just some regular teams, it wouldn't matter. They beat real teams.
Only team in the country with series wins against LSU, Arkansas, and Tennessee. I mean, that carries a lot of weight right there. And the RPI is still sitting in the mid-30s, and the series at Georgia is not going to be easy. That ballpark, especially when it gets hot, plays really small, and they already lead America in home runs, and they'll be healthier then. They're getting one of their big sluggers back, I think, next weekend. So that won't be easy. The Missouri series is a whole nother story. But yes, to your point, it was winning those games against quality opponents. And I would take it a step further. I think that Prager's start in game 1 at Texas was just kind of what he needed to get back on track. That is a notoriously pitcher-friendly park. And talking with both staffs and the guys that know the history of Disch Falk Field, they said, listen, if you're a pitcher and you're struggling, this is where you come to get right. Because the infield is the slowest infield this side of Wrigley. The ballpark can play big, yada, yada. And I think, we talked with Prager that Sunday. I just kind of see this calm confidence coming from the veteran. But you have to build the confidence by beating good teams. In fact, to your point, Michael's point, I was just talking to a coach this weekend, and he said, listen, we survived Missouri. You don't want – there's an enormous amount of pressure, and it sounds backwards, but when you go in a series against a team that's that bad, that hasn't won a conference game, and the odds will tell you that they're due to sneak up on somebody, he's like, we just wanted to get through the weekend. And so you don't gain much confidence from beating a team like Missouri. It's just a matter of getting through it and surviving it and saying, okay, they didn't get us.
But this team, like – and I said this a while ago, and I believed it, but now I really believe it. Like, if they are a 2 seed at a regional or a 3 seed, right, whatever it ends up being, like nobody wants that team to come to their ballpark. No, there isn't a host site that's going to want them there.
No, I can't imagine they'd be a 3 seed. I mean, that would be unseating. That would be unfair to the 1 and the 2 in that regional. I don't know what the projections are going to look like, when they come out midweek, but I think that's a deserving 2 seed based on the talent, the depth, and playing in the toughest conference in college baseball. Caden Sorrell is a real difference maker, not just in the moment with, the go-ahead home run in the 8th inning, but in the length that he gives to that lineup. I'd like to see TK get going a little bit, but I was fascinated. I suppose this is the first weekend they put Laviolette in the 1 hole, and both coaches changed up their batting order. Curiel had been leading off basically all season for LSU. After he struggled in game 1, they dropped him down in the order. Jay Johnson moves guys around a lot. I like the idea of Laviolette getting as many at-bats as possible. He just kind of like I said about Prager when I was talking to him last week, he's just kind of taking this attitude of I'm not going to get beat down by a single failure in a single at bat. And I think that's an evolution of maturity for him, understanding the big picture and understanding that baseball is a game of failure. But nobody wants to see Jace Laviolette come in and lead off the first inning as a 3 seed against, no matter where they might end up. And odds are likely, they're going to be somewhere. Probably going to be somewhere nearby. I don't know if TCU is still slated to host. I think that may have gone out the window. But you're going to have a chance to play close to home, likely.
Talking to Tom Hart. Tom, a buddy of ours, Connor O'Gara from Saturday Down South, did his rankings of 1 through 16 SEC coaches. And I didn't warn you I was going to ask you this. I just thought of it right now. Yeah. Where would you put? Who do you think the top 3 coaches? And just your opinion. I'll read you Connor's if you want. But where would you say the top 3 coaches in the SEC are football-wise?
Oh, football-wise. Okay, I thought we were on baseball. Oh, gosh, football-wise. I'd have Kirby number 1. I'd have Sark number 2. And I just, the Texas thing, the ability to win year 1 in the conference, and I'm giving Sark back credit for building a team in an SEC image, which I think was key for them and something Oklahoma did not do. And then the question becomes, who's your number 3? And I think that's a wild card. I don't know. I mean, I think the top 2 are pretty obvious. What's he got?
I would put Lane at number 3, and I think I was in the minority on this show. They had Kalen DeBoer at 3, Brian Kelly at 4, Josh Heupel at 5, and Lane at 6. I just think what Lane's been able to do at Ole Miss, and there's certain things that bug me about Lane, but the guy does win 10 games, right? He can put out a winner at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and he is a new era coach in that he's not afraid to do things differently and a little bit unconventional. I mean, everyone laughed at the Portal King stuff and the memes and the social media, but there was a method to that madness. And the method was, hey, listen, the value I provide to you via NIL is representative of the value you're going to provide to this program in terms of production and wins and losses. And if I can, by the way, get in the portal and find somebody better than you, I'm just going to be upfront and transparent. I'm going to go do that. And while it may have been like that forever in college football, that we're going to over-recruit our next class and try to find somebody better, his ability just to be transparent through the entire situation, I think, modernizes him as a football coach. Yeah, I agree with you. I'd have him 3. I'd have Heupel right there with it. I think Kalen DeBoer is an amazing coach. I've followed him since he was winning national championships and NAIA. But I think for him to be higher on that list in this league, you have to accomplish it in this league. You played for a national championship and nothing against that. And I think him getting Grubbs back as his OC is going to allow him a little bit more calmness in navigating the choppy waters of the SEC. And who's he got last? Like
Jeff Lebby.
Last?
Lebby was last.
Yeah. I mean, I think Jeff Lebby's going to, relative to what his resources are, I think he's going to win games. I think it's tough. You take the last guy in this league and or the last couple of guys, and there's a lot of schools out there who would love to have them as their head coach. It shows you just how challenging this conference is.
He had Elko at 10, which was fine, but he had Stoops at 9. I was like, I don't know. I would have flip-flopped those, but Stoops has won a 10-game season at Kentucky, so I get it. Couple, I think.
Yeah, and well, I think it's fair to say you have two coaching careers that are going in different directions. And so call Connor back, in 2 years and say, hey, let's update this. What does it look like now? And I'd say the same thing about Elko that I said about DeBoer. I think he's going to be wildly successful. It's just accomplish it in this league, and then you have that baseline to work from. I mean, Beamer, Drinkwitz, like these guys like that are, and even Kiffin to an extent, deserve credit for winning with the resources that they have and or mining the resources to make it look like, hey, we have just as many resources as the next guy. And that's a big part of being a head coach these days.
By the way, in baseball, Vitello and Dave Van Horn. I guess I don't know who the third is. I do, but I don't want to say it. So those are mine.
Is the third from LSU or is he from Texas?
Sure, yeah, let's go with LSU. There we go. Let's go with John.
I mean, it's the same thing. I was asked this weekend, what makes SEC baseball, like what was the turning point where SEC baseball took over the world. And I said, you could point to LSU and Skip Bertman in the 90s, and you could point to the graduation of this league and other powers, rising and falling. To me, it's when Ole Miss and Mississippi State win back-to-back national championships. Ole Miss does it as the last team in. And if that doesn't show you the conference depth, I don't know what else puts it in perspective to be able to pull it together and win a title. And I think it gives hope to everybody in the league this year, really not named South Carolina or Missouri.
Tom, appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Bye, David. Thanks, bud.
Yeah, Tom Hart, Puppy's Catering Hotline. Right now, Rollo Insurance. When insurance matters most, who's going to answer your call? That's the good people at Rollo Insurance. You get a personal agent, a direct phone number, and people that know the business. Not a call center, not an automated system. People who are going to take great care of you. They are the official insurance provider of TexAgs Live. They bring the difference. The difference is real. They're at Rollo Insurance, where there are over 60 offices across Texas, and their headquarters on Highway 6 right here in College Station. Whether it's home, auto, business, or ranch insurance, start a relationship with experts who put you first. Your agent becomes familiar with your specific situation, providing a customized protection plan for the mass market insurers simply can't match. The easy website is rolloinsurance.com. rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, or call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO, or rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That's the new shirt. Don't suck on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for Around Aggieland, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normandystatebank.com. Kaylee Dreyer.
Hi.
Hey, it's been a minute. How
How
are
are
you?
you? I'm good.
Good. What do you have for us?
We had a great weekend in Aggie sports. Starting with baseball, they took the series from number 2 LSU, winning 2 of 3 games, and they split the doubleheader, winning game 1 3-1 and dropping game 2 2-1. Ben Royal led the offense in this doubleheader, going 3 for 7 with 1 home run, and Caden Sorrell led in game 3 with his game-winning 3-run home run in the 8th inning to push the Aggies to win 6-4. This marked the third victory over a top 2 ranked team this season. And moving on to softball, they also won the series versus a number 2 ranked team in Tennessee. They earned the double bye and number 2 seed in the SEC tournament after taking 2 of 3. Emily Kennedy had a great weekend going 2-0, and she was also drafted by the Bandits as the 7th overall pick. The Aggies finished in second place in the SEC with a 17-6 record, which is the highest finish in program history. And lastly, our 2 tennis teams. On the women's tennis side, number 2 Texas A&M women's tennis team took down UC Santa Barbara 4-1 on Saturday in the second round after they beat Quinnipiac 4-0 in the first round. Next up, they'll face UCLA in the Super Regionals on Friday. And then lastly, on the men's tennis side, they pushed past Rice to win 4-2 in the first round and are now moving on to the Sweet 16 after a tough win against Baylor yesterday.
Thank you, Kelly. Good job.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's going to be at 10:50 and here, a little less than an hour. Caller number 12, though, we're going to give you guys a hookup. 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's, serving Aggieland since 1984. They've got your favorite pizza and, of course, your world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. And we are back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelry.
Your mic's on, don't worry.
Okay, I was a little worried about it. You paused for a moment. Hey, we're going to do Around the SEC here in a second, but if your wheels have been damaged by potholes, curbs, or mediums, go see the experts at Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. Don't replace those rims, repair them, right? The experts at Brazos Valley Wheel Repair have over 2 decades of experience that will always make sure that your wheel is returned to perfectly safe working condition. They road force balance all wheels to make sure you get the smoothest and safest ride possible. They have experience repairing everything from minor curb rash and polishing to much more complex jobs like bent or cracked rims. They don't let anyone tell you that your wheels need to be replaced. Let the experts at Brazos Valley Wheel Repair give you a free evaluation and save you hundreds of dollars. If your wheels are in good shape, but you just want a fresh new look, let them take care of you as well. It is Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. You can call them up or you can go visit the website. The website is bvwheelrepair.com or in person at 508 Burnett Street in Bryan. It is Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. All right, time for Around the SEC presented by Jaxer. We love the good people at Jaxer. If you're looking to build your dream home on your lot, let the Jaxer Group help you navigate the entire project from start to finish, making sure your home is perfectly suiting your lifestyle, your preference, and your budget to turn your dream home into a reality. Visit them at jaxsir.com. That is JAXSIR.com. And we have Nick Savage with some SEC notes. Nick?
Hey.
Hi, buddy.
I know I told you in your ear, but Bronny was 100% right on all that hair metal stuff. Or, sorry, just kidding. Not the hair metal stuff. The Bon Jovi stuff. 100% right. But
I mean,
hair metal, I like hair metal. I can get behind that.
Very rarely in my life have I just chosen, I've picked a Bon Jovi song. If it's on, and I might sing the words.
Never, ever.
I've never searched for it on my phone. Like, you know what, I'm in the mood for a little Living on a Prayer. But I think it was a little overreaction to his place in rock and roll history.
I mean, sure, yeah. Like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to say what I was about to say because I will make everybody that views our show angry. So we'll get into Around the SEC.
Thank you. Time.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm not Luke. I'm not the grand, draw-out joke Luke Evangelist. Weekend series for baseball. Arkansas sweeps the Longhorns. That was fun to see. The Vols.
I heard Callie in the background. That was definitely
Callie. Why she laughed. The Vols fell to Auburn 2-1. Missouri still winless in the SEC. They lost their series to Georgia. Mississippi State, their first series without their head coach. They sweep Kentucky. A&M obviously beat LSU 2-1 in their series. Vandy beats Bama 2-1 in that series. Florida sweeps South Carolina, and Oklahoma takes the series from Ole Miss. And I know we talked about the SEC softball tournament just a little bit, but A&M, the 2 seed, they're going to play the winner of South Carolina and the Alabama-Auburn game. So that's the first round matchup. That's tomorrow. Bama-Auburn squaring off will face South Carolina, and then the winner of that one will face A&M. And with that, I'm sure you can hear Mr. Liucci. Yeah.
Do you have updated standings for me to look at, Nick, by any chance?
Softball?
No, baseball, sorry.
Not a full screen graphic, but here's Billy Liucci.
Billy Liucci, ladies and gentlemen, walking into the studio here as we are talking about all the things that happened in the SEC, that is Around the SEC, brought to you by the Jaxer Group. Billy, good morning, sir.
Brought to you by who?
Jaxer. JAXSIR.
I thought you said Jackson, and then you just decided to.
The Jackson 5?
Jaxer.
No, Jaxer.
Go ahead. Cut to Nuño real quick so I can get this mic.
Cut to David Nuño as we celebrate a great series win against LSU, where A&M not only won Game 1, they won Game 3 in dramatic fashion. With that, we are returned by Billy Liucci.
Dramatic is an understatement there. That game, LSU's pitching is so spectacular. I mean, it's really that good. I mean, really, I thought that was the best pitching I'd seen A&M face this year. Obviously you had Liam Doyle in that first game against Tennessee, and he threw a gem and a no-hitter. But Texas all weekend threw some real arms at you, and that was without. That was a week after losing their ace and Jared Spencer. So what they brought to the mound was really impressive. Maybe Liam Doyle's performance, Volantis for Texas out of the bullpen were the two most impressive. I don't know, though. Even though Doyle threw a no-hitter, those two LSU pitchers, and I know the game one starter is projected, they're saying he'll be a really high MLB pick, maybe a top 10 pick. I thought the guy in game two was damn near unhittable.
Yeah.
And, I know Bronny was up there, probably harassing some of the scouts, and they telling him that's the best stuff he's had all year. And their freshman on yesterday was pretty nasty too. So, and their arms out of the pen. I thought their pitching was elite. Nate Yeske does a tremendous job. This is 2 weeks in a row where you went in with a red-hot A&M lineup after Arkansas, South Carolina, the last two games against Tennessee. Mm-hmm. They were white-hot their last 8 SEC games. And you ran into, the last two A&M pitching coaches, Max Weiner and Nate Yeske, and there's a reason that they were hired here. They're elite. Yeah. And so you ran into some real pitching again this weekend, and they did a great job of shutting A&M down. But here's the thing. What Texas A&M did on the mound in 2 of 3 games against Arkansas, in all 3 games against Texas, and then again all weekend. Patton, it was Patton, Lampkin, and Prager. Prager, I thought, was the story of the weekend for me in terms of this team moving forward. I mean, Sorrell's 3-run bomb, that was the story of the weekend. You won game 3, wasn't a walk-off, it was pretty damn close. And you did it almost like that was Olsen magic. It just didn't feel like, it felt like LSU had shut A&M's bats down in game 2, holding them to 1 run.
Yep.
It was a struggle to get to 3 in game 1, and you were hoping for some kind of a breakout on Sunday, and you got the bases loaded in the first inning. You couldn't get anything out of it, and it was just like, man, it just felt like the air had come out of Bluebell Park. It felt like, when you got the bases loaded and Sorrell laced one out to left field on the first pitch, right at the left fielder, you're going, man, it just, gosh, you can't really let this one get away, but it felt like it was going to happen. 2 outs, Jace with that. I mean, the leading home run hitter in A&M history, mired in a real difficult slump since Arkansas. Great pitch, gets what he wants, weak contact, runner on. Wyatt Hensler, great job of hitting, fight one off, get, 70-something mile-an-hour exit velo, bloops it in the outfield, base hit, and then here comes Sorrell. And I think the biggest difference in this team this year, it shows you how much they miss he and Gavin.
Yep.
You put one of the two back, and you see how this team's played. And I heard Nick say the record since Caden came back is 14-8. That's such a misleading number because who they've played.
And
they might have been 2 in that's 22 games. They might have been 5-17 without him, the way they were playing prior. I mean, but I think quietly what we need to talk about is this pitching and what JK's done with this pitching staff. Because I've read all this stuff, and I see social media, and people have been really, all year, I think, ready to pounce on him. And as this year's gone on, and especially lately, this pitching's been, they had 1 bad inning in Austin with the walks. They had 1 bad inning in 3 games. They still gave up 11 runs in 3 games to the Longhorns in Austin. And then this weekend, they come back and they hold LSU to 1 run, 2 runs, and 4 runs. 7 runs in a weekend. They've given up 18 runs in 6 games, 3 runs a game against those guys. And in Fayetteville, against what I think is the best lineup in the SEC, maybe in college baseball, they gave up an 11 spot, and then they gave up 4 and 2 to a team that I don't think in an SEC game this year. I think those are their two lowest scoring outputs in 24 SEC games this year, 4-2. So that's 6 runs in 2 games. So in 8 of their last 9 SEC games, take out that 11 spot where Arkansas was raking. 8 of the last 9 SEC games against number 1, number 2, and number 2, they're giving up 3.0 runs per 9 innings. That's pretty damn remarkable for any pitching staff. And when you're talking about how great LSU is under Nate Yeskie, how great Texas is under Max Wiener, what's quietly happening here has been really, really impressive. And it snuck up on you, I think, because of how well A&M was hitting and that turnaround with that Tennessee. Then they scored 1 million runs against South Carolina, and then to go in and beat Arkansas. You just kind of lose sight of the fact that the pitching staff is pitching at an Omaha-type level now. And then you see some of the performances they got this weekend. Yesterday from Weston Moss, it was great to see him back and getting quality innings. They talked about how he'd been sick. Luke Jackson, he's got to get it back together. Couple rough outings here in a row, but what he did last weekend, or 2 weeks ago, at Arkansas. Caden Wilson was at game 1 this weekend. They've gotten some really nice performances, and then Cade, out of the pen was at game 2, even though they lost. I thought had some really nice innings there to keep A&M in it. So, but to win that series, David, the difference to me, it's night and day. They didn't have to, but in my opinion, they had to. Is that you know what I'm saying?
Mathematically, they didn't have to, but they had to because you knew it was still ahead.
I just feel like it was such a feel-good way to win it and to do it versus a program. And I'm going to talk a little crap about LSU here in a minute, so you guys just wait. But to do it against a program like LSU that is one of the best in college baseball history. The last 3 weekends, man, they have played 2 of the 3 best programs in baseball history in Texas and LSU. That's the last 2 weeks. They've played an Arkansas program that has been one of the top 5 for the last however many years under Dave Van Horn, without question. They've played in probably the toughest venue to play in the SEC in Fayetteville at Baum-Walker. They have gone up to Knoxville and played the defending national champs. What they've done in the last 5 weeks is it's absurd. And to come out of that with a 500 record, I would, we could sit there and go, they could be 7-5. They could have easily won one of those Texas games, and they could have lost yesterday to LSU as well. But to be 6-6 in 12 games against teams ranked 1 or 2, and the teams, like I just said, and what they stand for historically this year, recent years, to come from nowhere. I think 6-6 is an interesting record, okay? Because you take all those teams, and I think if they all 4 played each other, or all 5 counting A&M, I think the record would all be somewhere around 500 for all of them. Maybe somebody's 7-5, somebody's 5-7. But my point of saying this is A&M's playing Omaha level baseball right now. Now, it's got to continue, and it certainly wasn't happening earlier. So the path to get there is going to be insanely difficult because you're going to have to go on the road, not only for a regional, but for a super regional. And you're not going to get that easy. The big thing in a regional is getting that 1-4 game. Right. And they're not going to get that. So no matter who they play as a 3 or a 2, and I'm assuming they'll get in. It's not a done deal, but they're certainly playing like it. Makes a huge difference to not get that. That first game is going to be a coin flip no matter who you play. It's going to be tough. But you're going to have Prager on the mound. And you're going to have this lineup and this level of belief. But they've been playing at an Omaha level for the last 5 weeks. This is not like, man, look what even when they were in Austin, we said it. We said, hey, man, they lost 3 one-run games with the tying run at second. And I think at least 2, if not all 3 times, less than 1 out. And they had the winning run at the plate. A winning run on base, I believe. So it was important to me coming off of that weekend in Austin and getting swept that they win a home series against LSU. and I talk about it. I say, hey, the Aggie, or the Longhorns are playing, and we'll talk about that in a second too. They're playing a cush schedule in terms of their home versus away split, right?
Yep.
What they've done at home, going 11-1 against Auburn, Georgia, A&M, LSU, is remarkable. When your back's against the wall, and I'm saying, damn, what a tough draw. Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas, LSU, with South Carolina in there. You better win at home. So I felt like you couldn't really afford to lose 5 out of 6 in a stretch run where you really had to have it. And if they'd have lost yesterday, it'd have been 5 out of 6. Now what it is you've played number 1 or 2 4 out of 5 weeks, and you've won 3 of those 4 series. That's beyond impressive. And I think A&M just played their way right back into the field, and they just have to keep it going this weekend against an 0 for Missouri team that you have to come out and play well. You cannot have any let up. I think the home fans are going to come out. I think there's going to be a lot of energy there that'll help them treat it as big game energy, because they have to, because Mizzou has given teams problems at times lately. I know they lost a 1-run at one point to Florida. I think they were given, was it Bama maybe, some problems in that series, but lost 2 of the 3 Georgia games were really competitive. Yeah. So A&M's going to have to show up to play, because you can't give it back. But if they can take care of business this weekend at Mizzou, I think you can go into Georgia without any pressure. And then that series should be really competitive.
So I think you're saying this, but I said earlier in the show, I think since Sorrell came back into the lineup, A&M is playing like one of the top 10 teams in the country. Yeah. Would you agree that they're playing at that level? They're one of the top 10 teams in the country since he's been back.
Yeah. And I said the other day, this is like 2 different seasons. And it's not, there's a lot that's happened, okay? You had a new coach adjusting to being a head coach for the first time. And I think if you sat here with Mike Earley, he could list you, hey, these are some of the mistakes I made early in the season, not just in game, but just in our prep. And I was trying to figure out what was really a completely different lineup. And also, I'm a head coach for the first time, and just getting all my assistants on the same page and doing it exactly how I envision it. And there's a lot that goes on. And I wouldn't say that we underestimated it, all that went into it. I would say we underestimated it, and the entire country that covers college baseball that has nothing to do with A&M, all underestimated. Because I saw no one, not one entity, not one outlet that had A&M ranked lower than 3, if that. I don't even know if there was even anybody that had them that low. But so that went on. So there was that adjustment. And it was not the same team. If you look at that lineup, sans, you take out Grahovic and you take out Sorrell, and then you look at what they lost anyway. And oh, by the way, Hayden Schott tears his MCL a week or 2 before the season. There was a ton of change in this lineup.
Yep.
You were going with 2 true freshmen for a while, and Keel and Farr. Now it's Keel, and there was trying to figure out the situation at first base, who it was going to be. There's been a lot. That outfield kept changing. You kept trying to figure out the outfield in second base. There was a ton of shuffling, so that settled. I think Early settled in. You got Sorrell back, and your starting pitching has been pretty consistent. But now I think they've taken it to another level. So it truly is, David, like there are 2 different seasons that you're judging this by, and it's crazy to think of how ugly some of the performances, just watching them, and the results were in the first half of the season versus the last 5 weeks or so. And I was joking around with it. I saw TK's mom over the weekend, and we were talking, actually ran into them last night. Awesome family. Shout out to Grandma. Watches the show all the time. Yeah. But it was like that catch against Tennessee early in that game to rob the home, I think it would have been a 2-run home run there. I mean, you could have easily lost that game. Yeah. It was early, but there's just something about that play told you that, like, this team's still fighting.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it energized that dugout on that day. and that led to this doubleheader win, and they've been rolling since. But you just never know. You never know. And that's why we sat here all year and you say, man, you just hang in there. Like, just deep breath and let's see where it goes. And I'll be the first one to say, I was really bummed for the players and for Early and for the fans and everybody and us covering it. I'm like, this is not going at all like we expected. And I would love to take an honesty poll of like going into these 5 series, counting Georgia, but since they've only played 4, if I'd have said, what do you think their record's going to be against Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas, and LSU at that time when they were heading to Knoxville? Of those 12 games, I would love to see someone raise their hand that thought the Aggies would win more than 3.
I was thinking 3 and 9. Like if they just
it's realistic. Like, of course, there was going to be the way they were playing. There's going to be a sweep in there somewhere. And especially so if I would ask everybody that question after they lost
the Friday
Tennessee
night,
on Friday night and got no hit and run ruled. So, I mean, it just didn't. It looked really bad, and you were sitting there going, okay, they got Missouri, but what's this conference record going to be? Is it going to be 7-23, 8-22? That's what it was. The way they were playing versus who they were about to play, they could have even gotten a little better and still taken some real knots on the head in these. But to win 3 of 4, and it's just the way they've been winning it, Nuño. They had to come back from, 10 runs down against South Carolina to win it with 2 grand slams to walk it off there. You've had to win pitchers' duels. You've had to go on the road and win. You've won slugfest. You've blown out. You have blown out Tennessee. You've blown out. You beat Arkansas 9-2, where you're just pouring it on late. They've lost heartbreak in 1-run games. What did they lose? They've lost at one point 4 of 5 games. They lost by one run.
Yeah,
to LSU and Texas. So. And again, with guys on base in the 9th inning to tie it. So I think they're playing great baseball. It's fun to see. And now all of a sudden there's hope. We could talk all show about like what could be with this team, but I think we all know that. We know what could be. And that's why David, in those all 3 games this weekend, I was just like white knuckle, because you're like, man, they got to get into this tournament.
Let's do this. Let's talk, because you had some thoughts on LSU and on Texas. So we'll do that, and then maybe some SEC officiating for a moment.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Looking for a reason to move back to Aggieland, or you're already living in Aggieland, reach out to the Association of Former Students. If you're trying to move here and get a great job, that's the place to start looking, because they have openings oftentimes in many different departments, from fundraising to marketing to sales, communications. They got a lot of different openings there. They're the premier alumni association and the oldest organization serving A&M in support of that Aggie network. They play a part in everybody's story here at A&M from Howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out with Aggie Socials, Howdy Socials, Aggie Ring Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining a team or think of somebody that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. And we're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy Liucci, David Nuño here, hour number 3 of the program. We actually ran through a stop sign, Billy, so we're kind of late for a break. So let's go for a little bit, but not go.
How long?
Well, we should be breaking for the next segment right now.
Okay, so
and I know Louis
2 minutes.
He's your boss. He's going to get upset.
Yeah.
So
like 2 minutes.
Let's go 4.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you 4.
I was going to say we could do the umpiring. I don't have much to say.
It sucks.
I've heard all y'all say it. I said something about it on Twitter. I just said, look, I watched high-level baseball the last 2 weekends. I sat there for 6 games, 3 in Austin, 3 in College Station. The Aggies, the Bayou Bengals, the Longhorns, number 1, number 2, and a team that's just playing as well as any in college baseball right now. I watched not exactly, 54 innings, but because I didn't want, Texas didn't bat 3 times in the 9th. But I watched 6 games of outstanding baseball. Players, hitters, pitchers, defense. The defense has been amazing in some of these games. And I'm sitting there watching it, and the only thing that was not up to snuff in the best conference in college baseball, the best sport maybe in the country, if you go like every sport, the top conference and the highest level of play. This year's SEC basketball was a contender. Softball is always a contender in this league. I would contend it's SEC baseball and probably SEC softball. SEC on the diamond is the highest level. I think maybe track too. Like some of these are like this, the highest level you get outside of the professional ranks. And these officials suck. That's it. I don't know what the solution is. Everybody's got their theories, and no point in hearing mine because I have no influence. So I would say they have to be better, but they won't be. So in the SEC, everybody's just got to deal with it. And it's not just an A&M thing. I saw LSU people complaining. Texas people were complaining last weekend. Tennessee people are complaining this weekend. I saw Arkansas people complaining while they were winning a sweep. And I know part of it is umpires can't please anyone.
Right.
That part is true. Umpires can't please anyone. So I get that, but there's enough evidence here to say the SEC has an officiating problem, which Browninger tweets, I think, every time Texas A&M takes the diamond.
Before we hit a break, would you like to say something to our LSU audience that's listening or our Texas audience that's listening?
Do we have time for that?
I told you 4 minutes. You went 2 minutes.
First of all, for LSU, that's a sweep. Texas A&M beat you in football. They whipped that ass in football at Kyle Field. That is the 3rd time in a row they've won at Kyle. Or is it the 4th? It's the 4th time in a row they've won at Kyle. It was this year. It was 22. It was 20. It was 18. That's 4 in a row at Kyle Field. That was a pummel job. They beat you twice in basketball. 2-0 there. They swept you in softball, which people pointed out because in my tweet I was talking about the big 3. But when it's a 3-game sweep, what was it at the time? Maybe number 3 versus number 6.
Yep.
That's worth talking about too. Trisha Ford and the crew, which, by the way, that group this weekend, phenomenal.
Tail.
To go up there to number 2 Tennessee and win that 1-0 game in game 1 and then lose game 2, was it 5-1, and then come back and put a 13-2 knot on the Volunteers' head up there. That was impressive.
Yes, it was.
You not only win a series against number 2, you win on the road against number 2, and you cap it with a 13-2 beatdown. This is a team that I think going into the big tournament will probably be no worse than a 3 seed, which is remarkable. And they do have a national championship makeup about them. Obviously, there's several teams in the SEC that could do that. And this team is just 1 week removed from losing a home series to Arkansas. So everyone over there across the street understands, like, you're going to have a tough path to get there. And then when you get there, it's going to be like the SEC Invitational. So, but they're one of the teams with a chance to win it. And that's all you can ask for out of this league. LSU is a team with a chance to win it. So this is no insult to the Tigers. I'm talking about in baseball.
Yep.
But you also lost 2 or 3 in baseball. You got swept. The people over there on the Bayou talk an awful lot of smack about Texas A&M. They are really in their feelings on social media right now towards me and the Aggies. It's not our fault that you lost the baseball series. You can blame it on Jay the Staller Johnson, who comes out there every other at bat, it seems like, to complain about something. No, you have a great baseball team. You have a baseball team that can win a national title this year. You have a great football history. I think it's going to be a mountain to climb to go into Death Valley, and A&M, by the way, has not won over there. But I don't give a damn about any of that right now, because Texas A&M swept your asses in all three of the major sports this year, and overall, they've owned LSU athletically in this calendar cycle. Okay, so you can cry all you want. You can bring up 1939. You can bring up past history. You can bring up what you think's going to happen next fall at Death Valley. You can bring up all the LSU baseball national championships. I have the utmost respect for my LSU friends and for what they do athletically, their history, their star power, all that stuff. I don't care about any of that right now, because as I sit here today, what we're talking about is A&M winning a baseball series after winning twice in basketball and winning by 17 points at Kyle Field. That is a clean sweep. They did it to LSU and they did it to Arkansas. So as far as I'm concerned, right now, LSU, you are Arkansas. That's that. That's that from now until October. They may, you know what, though? I shouldn't say that. You never know. These two teams could meet in a super regional.
Yeah.
And I'd be all for it. If you told me today, super regional at the box, if you're a college baseball fan, you say, let's do it. If you could run this series back again,
do it.
And I guarantee you LSU is saying, let's do it too. I would love that. I would love that. But as we sit here today, that is a clean sweep in the big three. Again, I just feel like even my LSU friends, there's a lot of look down your nose at A&M from LSU to where it never was able to quite become a rivalry. This is a rivalry, folks. It's not your primary rival. I don't know who LSU's primary rival is, to be honest with you. They say it's Alabama. I say no, it was just Nick Saban.
Yeah.
It was Nick Saban because he left you. They owned A&M in football from when the Aggies joined the SEC and that Cotton Bowl prior. They forget when A&M owned LSU in football, when LSU wanted to quit playing because RC was putting one knot on their head after another. And now it's a home-and-home series in football. It's been dead even for the last 8 years. So it is what it is.
Yep.
And by the way, LSU, you've had one great year during this SEC run for A&M.
It was a great year,
football. It was, I would trade a lot to have that 1 year. Like, if
great.
you offered me that 1 year, that Joe Burrow year,
Yeah.
and they did go 50-7, I think, on the Aggies. I had to sit there through that one. That was really unpleasant. I've had some fun times at Tiger Stadium. That wasn't one of them. But the reality is, like, this is a really even rivalry across sports, and even in the last few years in baseball. You know, LSU won a natty. A&M lost in the national championship game a year later. The Aggies have been to Omaha 2 or 3 years. I think LSU, it's the same. So this is fun. It's fun. And I have fun talking crap with the LSU people because I know that they're going to, any chance they get, I'm going to hear it. And it's typically in good fun. But the fun is in College Station right now. It's right here, thanks to Caden Sorrell and a hell of a pitching performance by the Aggie staff.
Can I get you going? Can I just read something?
And then we'll go to a break.
Yeah,
I'll
we'll go to a break.
for 10 minutes.
I'm breaking my own rule. Hobart on YouTube says, 2-4 in the last 6 games. Many are already searching for hotels in Omaha.
Are we 2-4 in the last 6? Yeah, 2-4.
Yeah,
against number one and number 2.
Games. Yeah,
you're 2-4 with 4 1-run losses. No one is looking for hotels in Omaha. Hotard.
Hobart Tucker. I love it.
Oh, I thought you said Hotard, like the dorm here. I thought
that's a good point.
But we'll call him Hotard. So, Hobart?
That's his name, Hobart Tucker, the 11th.
No one's got the name Hobart. That's made up. Is that a character on a show or something? Am I missing something here?
He actually...
Is that like a Netflix show? A guy named Hobart?
That sounds right. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway...
FamousHobarts.com.
What? Anyway, I don't know of anyone booking Omaha. I said they're playing Omaha level baseball for the last 5 weeks. I also said they need to continue that and sustain it. I also said I think they've created a treacherous road for themselves because barring maybe winning out and sweeping Georgia, they're not going to host, and they're going to have to be on the road in a super. I mean, the path to Omaha is as daunting as they come. But, you just take out any individual team that A&M plays, and they can go toe-to-toe in a 3-game series. So Hobart, again, no one's saying that. If you're an Aggie, if you think he's an LSU
He's an
fan,
Aggie. No, he joined us on Friday.
if you're an Aggie and you're getting your feelings hurt because people are excited because in the last 5 series, Texas A&M has beaten number 1 on the road, number 2 on the road, number 2 at home, and lost only to number 1 on the road in 3 one-run games. If that bothers you that your fellow Aggies are excited about it, I don't care. And I'm not going to adjust who I am, and neither is he, and neither is any one of your friends or family members or fans that are at Bluebell Park to appease your negative ass. So no one's booking Omaha. No one's feeling like this team's on a runaway train to Omaha. No one's even said that. All they've said is they're playing to give themselves a chance. If they keep playing at this level, they have a shot to beat anyone they play. And if this weekend didn't prove that to you, and even last weekend in a losing effort, but certainly the 2 showdown series before that, then I got nothing for you, buddy. So keep texting, keep being negative, and hey, you know what? The odds are still, because of the path they have, that you'll probably win out. It doesn't make you right. It doesn't make you right. It just means you enjoyed all this less than we did.
By the way, I did do Google.
Hobart.
He's, I'm sure, very friendly.
It doesn't sound like it.
Well, Barry Hobart.
It sounds like the guy that's just going to be like, oh, yeah, well, we won, but so what? Or, we only scored this many runs, and it ain't going to fly. We're going to. That's not fun. It doesn't sound pleasant at all.
Hey, there was an actor named Hobart Bosworth, major films, 250 movies. Hobart Henley, another one.
I don't think he's named after any.
Barry Hobart, you'll like this one. He was Dr. Creep on a horror show called Shock Theater. And Doug Hobart for The Death Curse of Tarfu. There you go. The more you know.
Hobart.
Data Company. Family-owned, licensed, insured business. They offer HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and generator services available 24/7. They have the thermostats repairs, the refrigerant leaks or repairs, furnace failures, and seasonal tune-ups. On the plumbing side, leak repairs, clogged drains, water heater installation, maintenance to keep those pipes in great shape. They are fantastic when taking care of your electrical wiring, your outlet repairs, your upgrades for safety and efficiency, and generator repair with maintenance and installation to prepare for power outages. They serve College Station, they serve Houston, they serve Austin. All of you listening in Austin, they have upfront pricing with no surprises. Contact Daily Company at 979-2060-2020. That is 979-260-2020, or visit them at godaily.com to experience the daily difference. That is GoDailey.com. It's the daily difference.
You've lost the war.
I've lost the war. We're on the air, by the way.
You've lost
because I don't listen to Creed on my own.
You don't. I mean,
I don't
we've
listen to Creed
talked
on my
about
own. They're
I mean,
fine.
the thing about my song, my musical taste is I go from Creed to Creedence to the Creed soundtrack. You're
compare.
in a one lane.
Don't compare.
Late '90s crap rap.
I do
late '90s crap rap.
I'm bilingual, bro. I listen to everything. I even listen to French rap.
What were y'all talking? Well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever.
Okay, so like,
what is that called? Like,
it's called French rap. Frap.
Yeah, it sounds like frap.
We got a break right now. We have breaking news though.
Okay.
Ross Stripling is retiring. He put out a post here. We'll try to get him on the show soon to celebrate his amazing career. And
he did have a really stellar career, not just at A&M, but MLB. One of the great stories, one of the great dudes to come through A&M. So let's get him on ASAP.
We'll get him on ASAP. We'll hit a break here. We'll do an extended segment afterwards because we'll have to do, I'm sure, a little overtime.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Ready? Clap on, clap off. The final segment of the program, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jules Rollo Insurance Studio. So I think lost in all of this, Billy, we were hoping it would happen during the show, but after the show on
I'm sorry,
Friday,
I can't talk. Howell's over here texting me about like some 2029 prospect from, Merkel High School.
What did we
Bronny and I are on the group chat, and Howell, it's the best because he's more into it than I think any coach in college football. So he's
all in.
2029 kid from Merkel is going to be a star. Baylor's in on him early, though. I don't know if we can get him.
What did we do the last 3 breaks?
We've been watching Callie. Well, we started off where you don't know any Pearl Jam songs.
I know, like the famous. I just
no,
put
you
them
don't.
on the
and
radio.
Then, then it went to. I'm trying to show. Callie and I are trying to watch Creed videos from when I went to their concert in whatever.
So I'm researching sports.
No, Nuño's sitting there trying to show. He's trying to circumvent because he's getting jealous that Callie and I are looking at the Creed videos. So he's showing you the.
Callie was watching the video of mine.
And then he starts showing side videos of him wrestling.
Rolling at Brazos Valley MMA.
Rolling at Brazos Valley MMA.
Yeah.
With strangers.
Yeah. And I.
Meanwhile, I'm rocking out.
Put the shoulder through the neck. Tap them out. It's great. So much fun. So much more fun than watching old videos.
You were watching an old video.
This is a good point. Can we talk Riley Griffin for a moment? Or should we do it on TexAgs overtime? That starts in a minute and 30 seconds.
Then I think we do it in the overtime.
But then
Riley Griffin, because that happened on Friday after the show, didn't it? I lose track of said things. There's a couple of housekeeping issues to talk about with Aggie hoops.
Yep, a couple of things to talk about that, but we still have a minute.
Well, we can talk about that Texas baseball schedule.
Oh,
if you remember.
I
was raked over the coals a couple weeks ago for my commentary, and that was actually prior to A&M getting swept in Austin, so it only got worse. But it just, in a way, further proved my point. My point was just simply that the Longhorns were, when I say gifted, I don't mean it was some grand conspiracy. So that was the first fallacy that they jumped to. But they were gifted a tremendous home versus away SEC schedule this year. Has nothing to do with A&M. You can't show the rankings of A&M and Texas to me and say that is relevant to what I'm saying. Oh, well, here we go. I'm going to have to start over on this. This is why we don't do things in 1 minute. There are very few things.
Thank you, Billy, for joining us on TexAgs.
Thank you.
We're going to do a TexAgs overtime brought to you by the Rogue Shop on TexAgs.com. You got to be a premium subscriber to hear that and watch that. That's coming up next. If not, keep it with our good friend Louis Bellina on The Zone. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We will see you mañana.